Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back to the show. It's great to have you here on the Cabral Concept, where we will be talking about the new USDA guidelines that are now from the year 2020 through 2025. They said additions would be made if needed, but really there was a lot of shock over these new guidelines because the USDA did not take the advice of a 20-person scientific committee that was set up to give them instructions or guidance on what should be edited. And I really want to go into that today because it was actually pretty shocking to the entire committee, because that is why they were there. That is why they were hired, to basically look out for the best interests of Americans and people all over the world, because people look towards these guidelines to what the U.S. is doing as well. So, you know, again, it was no surprise to me. This is basically business as usual with big pharma. You can use a PH for that, or an F for farm or pharmaceuticals. But really what we are looking at are massive lobbyist efforts that are thwarting good health efforts by good doctors trying to give good information to the general public. And although I don't think that all of these guidelines are bad by any measures, I don't. I'm going to give credit where credit's due on the new guidelines. But also I want to share with you what the doctors, this committee, told the USDA to say and put in as guidelines, and that they didn't listen to it. So, and they even asked the question about lobbyists, and the USDA basically said, yeah, we did listen to a lot of what they had to say as well. So, you know, really, really interesting. But before I get into all of this, I just want to share with you, it's just one more reason. It's one more reason why you need to look out for your own health. If you are looking to the media, to the government, to anyone else for your health, it can be a dangerous game, because we like to look at governments around the world as having our best interests in mind. Please keep in mind, these are politicians who get paid by big companies, or what happens is they're paid a nice salary, a couple $100,000 a year, and then when they leave office, they're paid a couple $1 million to serve on the boards of a lot of these companies that they basically push these lobbying bills through. And if you don't think that happens, look into it. So all I'm trying to say is this: it is what it is. That is how the world works as of right now. But the nice thing is this: you can look out for your own health. You can listen to the guidance of people that actually have your best interests in mind. And there are many people out there, and you're able to make informed decisions. And you don't need to look at the food pyramid and the USDA guidelines as the end all be all. So again, I'm going to give some credit where credit's due. I'm going to share with you exactly what was stated, and then I'm going to go through the actual facts, like what the scientific committee wanted you to know, but didn't end up getting implemented. So let's go through that for a little insider's look at all of these things. So I'm going to give you the actual article. I'll link up everything today. So believe me, you can go and do this research yourself. You know, I'm a huge proponent of you verifying everything. Like, I'm good with that. But here's the deal. I'm going to make it easy for you. Just head over to stephencabral.com/1803. That is where all of today's research and links and all those great things will be at, because they can censor me on Instagram. They can censor me on Facebook. They can censor me on YouTube, but they, as at least right now, can't censor me on my own website. All right, so stephencabral.com/1803. Let's take you through the actual news here. Okay, so this is what's stated in the Wall Street Journal. And I'll take you through all the different ones right now. So the federal government on Tuesday issued new dietary guidelines that keep current allowances for sugar and alcohol consumption unchanged, rejecting committee recommendations by a scientific advisory committee to make significant cuts. The scientific committee, which was composed of 20 academics and doctors, had recommended cutting the limit for added sugars in the diet to 6% of daily calories from 10% in the current guidelines, citing rising rates of obesity and the link between obesity and health problems like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. The committee also recommended lowering the limit for alcohol beverages from men to 1 drink per day from 2, matching the guidance for women. It pointed to research linking greater alcohol consumption to higher risk of death. The new guidelines do not include the scientific committee's recommendation that children under age 2 should consume no sugar at all. This is the first time the guidelines have included recommendations for babies and toddlers. We'll get into that in just a moment. Let me just finish off this article. The dietary guidelines, which are updated every 5 years, have a wide impact. They shape school lunch programs, mold state and local health promotion efforts, and influence what food companies produce. Let's see if this is worth it. No, not worth it. Okay. Food industry groups have lobbied intensely against the scientific committee's proposed new efforts. That means alcohol companies, candy companies, you name it, right? So when asked if pressure from business groups had played a role in the government's decision, Mr. Lips said, to the extent that stakeholders provide input about whether the science was being properly reviewed, we took that into consideration. And noted that the government receives more than 106 comments from the public. We committed to issuing guidelines based on sound science in an open and transparent process. We believe that at the end of the day, that's what we did, he said. Which, by the way, is not what they did, because they hired the scientific community to give them the real science, and then they decided to ignore it and go with other companies' input as well, because what would it do? It would hurt alcohol sales. It would hurt processed food sales. And again, that is why government is not independent. For anybody that believes government is independent, please, I wish that was the case. I'm an idealist living in the real world. That's what I consider myself. Not even an optimist. I'm an idealist. I want things to be a certain way. I strive for things to be a certain way. And I live in the real world and know that we try our best. We don't always get the ideal, but we try, right? So here's the thing. They did not listen to the committee. They did not put that in there, even based on the science. And I'm going to give you the science today. I'm going to give you the verified science. I went and did the research on my own, and I've talked about it on previous podcasts as well. Now, here's why they were trying to give that information to you, though. Right now, this increased from just a couple of years ago, which used to be 66%. The U.S. now has 70% of all adults over the age of 20 are overweight. Think about that. 7 out of 10 people are now overweight. 7 out of 10 people. It is an astronomical number. This is not how humans were meant to live. And we have to understand is this has nothing to do with what people think beauty is, what vanity is. It has nothing to do with that. Again, people come in all shapes and sizes. There's no doubt about that. One person 5'8" should be 120 pounds. One person 5'8" should be 180 pounds. There's different body structures. There's just no doubt about that. Maybe not 180, but 160. So there are different structures. I get it. I understand. But here's the thing. The further you are away from your ideal body weight, the greater risk for cardiovascular disease, stroke and high blood pressure, cancer, type 2 diabetes. Those are the 4 main issues that will cut your life short and also make your life more challenging because of all the medications you're going to have to be put on and the quality of life is really diminished. So again, weight does matter in terms of health. Does not matter to me how you're looking to have your clothes fit. That's up to you. What matters to me is that you get to enjoy your life. And if you're dealing with these issues from the age of 40 or 50 years old, I mean, that's pretty challenging. It really is. So here's what I want to share with you as well. Right now, 42% are obese, which is the next level. That's 30% essentially of body, not 30% of body fat. Yeah, it's actually BMI 25 and above and body fat percentage basically above 30%. So again, this is 42% now instead of about a third. So these rates are rising. We know that a lot of this is due to alcohol sugary beverages, and processed food. Yet we couldn't reduce that number, right? I mean, the number should be 0. And again, do I eat no processed food at all? Of course not. No. I enjoy myself a nice flex meal once or twice a week. No doubt about it. I'll never deny that. It's part of what I enjoy with my overall health. Now you might say, well, it might take a year off your life, like overall. Okay, well, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. But again, you have to understand is we're not talking about from like 74 to 73. We're talking about overall. We're talking about overall from like going from like maybe 95 to 94. Like, and again, I don't think that that's the case at all, or I would not be doing it. But, there's a little bit of give and take. But I'm going to share with you in a moment some of the disease statistics and what happens when alcohol just goes up from mild to even just light drinking and what it does to overall health. So I wanted to share with that. That was really, really important. But let me just share the guidelines before we get into the science. Okay. So the guidelines are this. Following a healthy diet for every pattern of life now, or every age of life. So they actually have newborns, essentially. They've got toddlers below 2 years old, and they've got children as well. So that was nice that they did add that. I think that's important. What they go over to is limiting sugar to no more than 10% of calories for the day, and avoiding it for infants and toddlers under 2 years old. Okay, so we still have 10% of the calories a day, but I want to qualify that for you. If you're eating 1,800 calories a day, it's still 180 calories from sugar. I mean, that's a lot. That's let's do the math here. That is 45. I think it's 45 grams of sugar. I'm trying to do the math off the top of my head. It's 4 times 45. I think that's 180. So that's a lot of sugar. That's essentially what, a cup of sugar? I mean, that's a lot of sugar per day. That would be a lot of processed sugar. So still not ideal. That would be still being allowed to drink a bottle of Coca-Cola a day. That's not okay. Like that's not okay. The next one is this: limiting saturated fat. That's still at 10% per day, starting at age 2 and above. Now, again, say what you will about saturated fat, but your saturated fat harms some people and is fine for a lot of people. So it's kind of like, okay, take it or leave it, but at least they're helping out a whole lot of people. And also, the majority of your fats really should be monounsaturated and unhealthy. I mean, you should say unprocessed polyunsaturated that you would get from nuts and seeds. And what else? The good polyunsaturated in fish, right? So again, the issue with those are vegetable oils. Now, do they allow vegetable oils in the USDA guidelines? They do. Do I recommend vegetable oils? I don't. Not processed vegetable oils, not ideal. But again, for most people, limiting those saturated fats to 10% of the calories, again, well, what are they doing? Well, you're really looking at how much saturated fat can you get in a day? Think about it. 10%, you're eating 1,800 calories again. It's 180 calories. With fat, now you're dividing by 9. So it's at 20, right? So I think it's 20. I apologize if my math is off right now, but I actually want to make sure that that's correct for you because thinking and talking don't go together. So 20 times 9 equals 180. Okay, so you can still get your 20 grams of saturated fat a day. That's a lot, right? That's almost 2 tablespoons of saturated fat for the day. That's plenty of saturated fat for all the people that want a lot more saturated fat in their diet. It's not really that much of an issue. It's not too much to ask that you can still get all your healthy fats in and just taking that down to 10% a day, especially if fats are at like 25, 30%, 35% of your diet. So, that's really not too much at all. I think that's okay. Limiting sodium to 2,300 milligrams per day. Fine. Again, fine. It matters how much magnesium you're taking in, how much potassium you're taking in, how much your greens, how much water you're drinking, your susceptibility genetically to sodium. All of those things matter, but it's a fine number. And then again, this is one of the contentious ones, keeping drinks at alcohol at 2 drinks per day for men and 1 drink for women. 7 for women a week, 14 per day for men. I'm going to give you new research that shows it's actually more important how many days you drink than just the number that you drink. So that's important. Do I have anything else on this I want to share with you? Okay. Recommended every day. Your types of vegetables, try to eat a rainbow of colors. I love that. Good recommendation. Wide variety of fruit, like the recommendation. Grains, at least half of which are whole grain. Okay, so here's the deal though. When you're eating grains, you really don't want to, if you're eating pasta it's still pretty processed, meaning like it breaks down pretty quickly. Unless you're a Vata body type, probably not great for your blood sugar, probably not great for your body in general. I'll be talking about this a little bit more on the Friday review coming up this week, but you just want to be careful with that. You honestly do. Am I a proponent of oatmeal and maybe some quinoa? Sure, like no doubt about it. Those are great. The starches from sweet potatoes and yams and purple potatoes and yucca, parsnips, beets, like all of those root vegetables are going to be much better options in general for most people. Okay, dairy, I don't love their dairy recommendation, fat-free, low-fat milk, yogurts, cheeses, or even soy beverages and alternatives. So I think we need to be a little careful here. I don't think that there's massive benefits to taking in a whole lot of milk, especially as an adult. So I'd be careful with that. Also, if you've seen my work on food sensitivities, you know that the IgG food sensitivity, the number one IgG food sensitivity is cow's milk. So really, we need to be careful in that. It's the number one delayed food reaction. And if you haven't run a IgG food sensitivity lab, we'll link it up for you today at 1803. Can't recommend that enough for yourself in children over the age of 3 years and older. So that's important to look at it. I have no issue with a little bit of nut milk every once in a while. I don't think we're looking at it as a superfood, though. And then oils, their oil recommendation is including vegetable oils and then seafood and nuts. Not a proponent of vegetable oils, all right? You can have some vegetable oils, but are they hydrogenated? Are they processed? That's not ideal. Ayurvedic medicine, and again, we have boatloads of scientific research showing that polyunsaturated fats can be healthy for you. Yes, I know they oxidize. Yes, I know they can do damage in the body. We're not talking about oxidized polyunsaturated fatty acids. And also, we're not talking about massive amounts of those. As you've heard before in my shows about the Mediterranean diet, a day in the life of my Mediterranean diet, the foundation of all diets, monounsaturated fats are really what you want to focus on, because there's downsides to saturated fats and there's downsides to polyunsaturated fats. There's upsides to both of those as well. There's really only upsides to monounsaturated fats. So I really am a first principles brass tacks kind of practitioner, meaning like, what are our safe bets? Well, our safe bets are monounsaturated fats, olives, olive oil, not processed, avocados, walnuts, like those, those are your really good bets. And then some wild fish as well, if you'd like to get those in there. All right, so I'm going to keep it at that. And now I want to bring you to the research, which just was wildly overlooked, like just blatantly overlooked by the USDA. And not ideal. Like, again, it makes you just understand that there are agendas at play here, because why would you ever overlook all of this research? So I'm going to share it with you right now. So we know, first things first, let me get this out of the way. We know that sugar is bad for the body. We know that it can create inflammation. We know that processed foods can create more of an issues with cardiovascular issues, blood pressure, stroke, cancer, type 2 diabetes. Again, those are the issues, 75% of what's going to cause early mortality. So the nice thing is this, and think of it this way, and this is important. Average age for a man is now 74. It went down about 2 years ago. Average age for a woman, about 77. Used to be 75 and 78. Now it's down a little bit for this new generation. So that's average life expectancy. But if you don't get cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or cancer, which are mainly lifestyle-based. Yes, I agree that cancer is a wild card because there are massive toxicities we're exposed to more than ever that our bodies react in different ways to. But regardless, if you get rid of those four, okay, your likelihood to live another 10 years is exponentially greater. So meaning like if you don't get those, average life expectancy would be about 84 to 87 years old for healthy adults that don't have cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, cancer, okay? So we're really looking at 10 years higher for healthier adults. That's where I want to get everybody. Living 84 to 87 years old is fantastic right now. Like that's great. You should have all your faculties. You should be doing really well. There's no doubt about that, okay? So now let me take you through the science here. So drinking alcohol raises the risk of some cancers. Drinking any kind of alcohol can contribute to cancers of the mouth, throat, larynx, esophagus, colon, rectum, liver, and breasts in women, okay? So we know that cancer from alcohol can include mouth, throat, voice box, which is your larynx, esophagus, colon, rectum, liver, breasts in women. So breast tissue just in women, and then also all of the rest in men as well. Now, we know obesity, though, can cause a whole host of other types of cancer as well. So again, obesity can cause other types of cancer too, because this body's much more inflamed. Just understand, like, that's a really big part of this. If you are part of the 70% of the population that's overweight, you have more inflammation just by proxy that you are overweight. Or being overweight creates more environmental or endogenous, I should say, estrogens in your own body. It can create more cortisol. It's just, again, like, that's why losing weight is the foundation of starting to get healthier as well. So the less alcohol you drink, the lower the risk of cancer. Drinking alcohol raises the risk of cancer. This was taken directly from the CDC inside of the government. Like, literally, the Center for Disease Control stated this. All right, let me give you a new one. This is right out of Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, published in Time. Light drinkers, which means 1 for women, 2 for men a day, who imbibed 4 or more times per week, had roughly a 20% higher risk of dying during the study than those who drank 3 or fewer times per week. The cutoff seems to be that we shouldn't drink more than 3 times per week. I have been saying this now for many, many years. I believe it is also an accumulation of inflammation and liver toxicity created by daily drinking. I really do. I think it's a big part of it. So let's say you had the same amount of alcohol, a drink a day, right? That's 7 a week. Now, let's say you split it over 2 days. Well, I wouldn't say that. Let's say you have 2 drinks 3 times a week. Because once you get over 2 drinks, it's actually much more dangerous. So I'm going to give you that at the very end of the show. I'm going to give you the 1, 2, 3 rule. It's not mine. It's very, very nice rule though. Okay. So do understand, if you're going to drink alcohol every other day maximum, keep a day in between. Let the body come back to a state of equilibrium. That's a key takeaway. Nobody's talking about that right now. Same amount of alcohol over 3 days. Really, that's an important one. Every other day. Do not drink every day, okay? So I'm gonna link all these up for you. In the BMJ, very important world-renowned journal. I've already quoted this on episode 940, I think, of my podcast. I'll link that up as well. Cognitive decline based on any amount of alcohol. No drinking, light drinking, moderate to high alcohol. Light drinking showed the least amount of cognitive decline. No drinking showed the best amount of cognitive decline as we age. Even light drinking showed some over 7 drinks per week. So even just 1 a day showed cognitive decline. Just keep that in mind, because the scientific committee was trying to take it down to 1 a day for men as well. Even at 1 a day, it shows cognitive decline. I'm going to give you my recommendations at the end. So what does 1 a day really mean? Well, let's. I'm going to put a graphic today as well at episode 1803 that spells this out. 12 ounces of beer at 5% alcohol, 8 to 9 ounces of malt liquor at 7% alcohol, 5 ounces of wine at 12% alcohol, 1.5 ounces of a spirit, right? Some type of distilled alcohol at 40% alcohol. What's that? 80 proof? I could be off on that. No, it's 80 proof. Yes. So it's basically a shot, 1.5 ounces at 80 proof. So that's what basically 1 drink equals. Now, so if you fill your wine glass up to the very top, that's 2 glasses of wine, because it's just 5 ounces for 1 glass. Okay. So I want to give you tips now, because we know that we see decline really over 2 to 3 drinks a week. Okay, that's where we see that's where we see cognitive decline. That's where we see issues with inflammation in the body. So what the scientific committee was trying to do is get sugar and processed food out of the diet. That was very, very important, right? You can still enjoy a cheat meal, a flex meal once or twice a week, especially if you've already met your goals. Now, with alcohol, though, the goal is to get down your alcohol consumption to 2 days per week maximum. That's the goal, because you want to ideally get it to no more than 2 drinks each time you do drink, 1 to 2 drinks, okay? So I'm gonna give you an easy rule to remember. I wish I could give credit to who invented this rule, but I really like it. And I've been recommending it for many years, just like the 12-week year that I talked about yesterday. I've been recommending it, but didn't even know about it before. So 1, 2, 3 rule. 1 drink a day, no more than 2 at once, and then no more than 3 times a week. So I really like that. So 3 times a week maximum, 1 to 2 drinks each time. And if you were to go with my more conservative rule, you would say no more than twice a week, no more than 3 drinks total for the week. So maybe on a Wednesday night, you decide that you're going to have 1 drink, 1 glass of wine with dinner. Okay. Then let's say on Friday night or Saturday night, remember, keep that day in between if you can, you're going to have 2 drinks that night with friends, with family, whatever it might be. Okay, there's your 3 drinks for the week, and you're now at 2 days total. Now, if you really want to take it to a greater amount, 2 drinks 3 times per week, or 1 drink, ideally, let's say on a Tuesday, Thursday, and then on the weekend you might have 2 drinks. So just look at it that way. The less alcohol, the better. Don't fall for all of the other things saying, well, alcohol has all these other benefits. All of the benefits are outweighed by all of the harm that it can do. And this study showed that, I'm going to give you one more, that for more than 7 drinks per week, life expectancy went down by 2 years. For more than 3 drinks, so more than 7 drinks, so more than a drink a day, actually, it was 1 to 2 drinks a day. So the current guidelines, your life expectancy goes down by 2 years. When you have 3 drinks, about 3 drinks per day, life expectancy goes down by about 5 years. So you take your 74 for a male and you're taking it down to 69. I mean, that is not ideal, right? It's just like, that's too young. That's too young to die. It really is. So what I wanted to share with you is not that you can't have some alcohol. It's not that you can't have some food, some processed food. I do that. I have some alcohol with friends, with family, just every once in a while. No problem at all. I have some flex meals that I thoroughly enjoy. What I'm saying is we don't want to make these a daily habit. If they're a daily habit right now, you can correct that. You can course correct. You can make it part of your New Year's resolutions, or any time of the year that you're listening to this podcast. You can certainly make those improvements. So again, take your health into your own hands. It's all about you being able to really understand the true research, and hopefully you understand that I always have your best interests and health in mind. All right, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else it can serve. Take care, everyone, and I will talk with you tomorrow. Thanks so much for just tuning in. And before you go, I want to share with you right now over at Equa.life, we are giving away our very popular 20-ounce tumblers. Think of these as the EquaLife Yeti. It is your ability to carry around your hot coffee, your hot tea, and keep it hot for hours at a time. Or put your smoothie in and keep that smoothie cold for hours at a time. Right now, it is completely free on all foundational-based nutrition products. For all details as to what all of those products are and see if you qualify, head on over to Equa.life, EQUI.LIFE, for your free 20-ounce tumbler. So this, again, is completely free on any qualifying purchase of these daily foundational products. It is absolutely a popular product over at EquaLife. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you use it. Put it to good use. Take care.